hope you all are doing well. In this video, we are going to study about the pharmacognosy of alkaloids, wherein we'll completely understand about its definition, history, classification, properties, and few examples of alkaloid containing drugs. Now, what are primary metabolites and secondary metabolites? Let's understand first. Primary metabolites are, essential for life processes, that is the growth of cells. Secondary metabolites are non-essential. These are identified universally throughout the source. These are seldom in some portions of the source like stem and bark. Okay, this is stem. Then these are produced continuously and are involved in metabolic processes such as your respiration and photosynthesis, whereas secondary metabolites are derived from the primary metabolites, and these are not synthesized, these are not made continuously. These are synthesized by the production of non during the non-growth phase of cells. Okay, these have heavy molecular weights, these have low molecular weights. The structure cannot be drawn, that is, it remains undefined. For example, DNA, proteins, carbohydrate, lipids are main primary metabolites, whereas in this the structure can be drawn, that is, it is specifically defined. Example, you have alkaloids, terpenoid, phenolics, sterols, steroids, essential oils, and lignins, etc. Alright, now let's move to the basic structure of alkaloid, wherein you can see you have two alkyl groups. Okay, there will be two alkyl groups attached to a ethyl ring and a amino group. Okay, alkyl amine attached to the uh, further ethyl group. Okay, and the further ethyl group is attached with the two alkyl groups. Okay, now let's study about the origin, history, and introduction. Now the term alkaloid comes from alkali-like, which is commonly used to designate basic heterocyclic nitrogenous substance or compounds of plant origin that are physiologically active. Okay, the term alkaloid was given by Flanzenkelin, which was coined by Meissner, a German pharmacist, in 1819. Okay, so what is alkaloid? It is alkaloids, alkali-like. It is a compound which is used to designate the basic heterocyclic nitrogenous compounds of plant origin that are physiologically active. Okay, the term was given at Flanzenkylen, which was coined by Meissner, which he was a German scientist, and he coined the name in 1819. What are functions of plants? Functions in plants, we know that they are very protective against insects and herbivores due to their bitterness and toxicity. As they are physiologically active, they are protective against the insects or various birds, animals. They are in certain cases the final products of detoxification, that is the waste products. Okay, generally they are the waste products in many cases. Then it is the source of nitrogen. In case of nitrogen deficiency, there are they sometimes act as growth regulators in certain metabolic systems. They may be utilized as a source of energy in case of deficiency in carbon dioxide assimilation. Okay, so what are the things you need to remember? Protective against the insects or bitterness or the toxicity. They are generally the waste or the detoxification substances. They are the sources of nitrogen and nitrogen deficiency. They are the growth regulators in certain metabolic systems, and they are a source of energy in case of carbon dioxide assimilation. Okay, now moving ahead to the very important classification. Now in the classification we are talking about the three classifications, main classification, that is typical or true alkaloids, proto-alkaloids, pseudo-alkaloids. Okay, this is the main classification in which the alkaloids can be easily classified. Alright, now here if you pay attention, okay, So first you have your true alkaloids. Now in the true alkaloids, they are derived from amino acids but have nitrogen in heterocyclic ring. ठीक है, ट्रू में अमीनो एसिड से डिराइव है एंड नाइट्रोजन होता है. एग्जाम्पल इज योर एट्रोपिन. प्रोटो अल्कोलॉइड्स आर ऑल्सो डिराइव फ्रॉम amino acids but they do not have nitrogen, okay, in the hydrocyclic ring. Example is your epihydrin. ठीक है. So what is the basic difference in true and protoalkaloids? दोनों अमीनो एसिड से डेराइव है but typical या true में you have nitrogen, okay, and in protoalkaloids you do not have nitrogen. For true alkaloids example is your atropine and in protoalkaloids you have epihydrin. Now pseudoalkaloids क्या होते हैं? So pseudoalkaloids जो है इसमें they have nitrogen but are not derived from the amino acids. Pseudo मतलब fake or you can say something that is false. So they might have false amino acid but they have nitrogen. Example, you have caffeine which is present in tea and coffee. Now one more important classification, that is false alkaloids. They are the non alkaloids, okay, alkaloids नहीं होते but they show or mimic the action of alkaloids, okay. Give false or positive reaction with alkaloid reagents. Now let's study about the important test to identify the alkaloids. Alright, the most alkaloids are precipitated from neutral or slightly acidic solution, okay, or slightly acidic solution. So most of the alkaloids जो होते हैं they are precipitated by the neutral or slightly acidic solutions. First is the Dadengroff reagent, solution of potassium bismuth iodide. Now what is this? I'm sorry. Okay. So Dagendorf reagent में क्या होता है? पोटेशियम बिस्मथ आयोडाइड से उसको ट्रीट करते हैं अल्कलॉइड के सैंपल को, विच गिव्स ऑरेंज कलर प्रेसिपिटेट. सो उससे पता चलता है प्रेजेंस ऑफ योर अल्कलॉइड. ओके, मेयर्स रिएजेंट में हम लोग पोटेशियम मर्क्यूरिक आयोडाइड सोल्यूशन लेंगे और ट्रीट करेंगे विद दैट सैंपल, तो हमें क्रीम कलर का प्रेसिपिटेट मिलता है. वैगनर रिएजेंट में आयोडीन एंड पोटेशियम आयोडाइड लेंगे तो रेड ब्राउन प्रेसिपिटेट मिलेगा. हैगर्स रिएजेंट में पिक्रिक एसिड से ट्रीट करेंगे तो येलो प्रेसिपिटेट. एंड इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ कैफीन, अगर सैंपल इफ में कैफीन है, ओके, अगर वो सूडो टाइप का है, ओके, जैसे हम लोग ने एग्जांपल देखा था सूडो अल्कोलॉइड्स है, तो फिर कैफीन जो है दैट वाज नॉट प्रेसिपिटेट. नाउ लेट्स स्टडी अबाउट द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स. They are bitter in taste. They are derived from amino acids. What is not derived from amino acids but have nitrogen is your pseudo alkaloids. Remember, alkaloids form double salts with compounds of mercury, gold, platinum, and other heavy metals. These salts are obtained as precipitates which are microcrystallographic. ठीक है, ये बहुत ज़्यादा बिटर है टेस्ट में, अमीनो एसिड से डिराइव्ड होते हैं. They form double salts with the compounds like your mercury, gold, platinum, and other heavy metals. These are the salts which are obtained as precipitates which are microcrystallographic. Alright. So let's see ahead. Now most of, but not all alkaloids possess the basic properties owing to the presence of amino nitrogen. अभी हम लोग ने बेसिक अल्कलॉइड का स्ट्रक्चर देखा था, तब वी नो कि बहुत अमीनो जो है NH था उसमें, दैट इज द बेसिक ग्रुप. तो not all, but depending on the presence and amino nitrogen, certain basic alkaloids are also present. Okay, structurally they are very complex and the products of energy requiring reaction sequences. Alkaloids contain one nitrogen atom, but some may contain five nitrogen atoms, such as एरेगोटामीन. ठीक है, एरेगोटामीन जो होता है एरगोट अमाइन, ये जो है इसमें 5 नाइट्रोजन होते हैं बट जनरली सारे अल्कोलॉइड्स में 1 नाइट्रोजन एटम प्रेजेंट होता है. अब नाइट्रोजन एटम जो है प्राइमरी अमाइन में भी प्रेजेंट रह सकता है और इट कैन बी प्रेजेंट लाइक सेकेंडरी अमाइन और टर्शरी अमाइन। यानी जो हमारा बेसिक अल्कोलॉइड का स्ट्रक्चर है उसमें प्राइमरी अमाइन, सेकेंडरी अमाइन या टर्शरी अमाइन या क्वाaternary कोई भी अमाइन नाइट्रोजन के फॉर्म में एग्जिस्ट कर सकता है। ठीक है, सारे अल्कोलॉइड्स में कितने होते हैं, 1 nitrogen atom, but the ergot amine contains 5 nitrogen atoms. Now let's quickly see about the properties of alkaloids. The properties of alkaloids, it is insoluble or sparingly soluble in water. ठीक है, बहुत ज़्यादा insoluble होता है या sparingly soluble. The salts are formed on reaction with acids. Obviously salt जो है वो acid based reaction से होता है, तो salts कब बनेंगे, जब acid से reaction होगा. And as I said कि they are basic, so acid and basic make a salt. Okay, and they are very less or partially soluble in water. Okay, and usually free soluble in acids. Most crystalline solids although are few amorphous. बहुत सारे crystalline alkaloids हैं, but there are few which are amorphous. Okay, free alkaloids are usually soluble in ether, chloroform or other relatively non-polar immiscible solvents. Some alkaloids are liquid because lacking of oxygen in their molecules. Example, you have your quinine, nicotine and स्पार्टिनाइन, ये जो है ये अल्कोलॉइड्स लिक्विड होते हैं एज दे डू नॉट हैव ऑक्सीजन इन देयर मॉलिक्यूल्स। एंड जो फ्री अल्कोलॉइड्स होते हैं वो सोल्यूबल होते हैं इन ऑर्गेनिक सॉल्वेंट्स ड्यू टू देयर नॉन polar immiscible solvents. Okay, the degree of the basicity varies greatly depending on the structure of the molecule and presence and location of other functional groups, and the alkaloids possess very high melting point. This is the MCQ question which has been asked last year in the papers. Alkaloids have dash melting point, so the answer is, sorry, alkaloids have dash melting points, high melting points, or it can be asked as vice versa. Alkaloids have dash melting point, high, low, moderate. Okay, ऐसे आ सकता. Now we'll be starting with a few examples of alkaloids in the second part of the video. Until then, please make notes and comment down your doubts. Thank